This is a response to Loreleila's video, "Killing People is Good." Hi there, Loreleila. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really like that video. It gives me an opportunity to think about the relationship between, well, the structure of those kind of statements, really, and more conventional moral statements like killing people is bad, or helping people is good. You know, those kind of moral statements. Because I think, you know, for me the question is where does this term come from? Where does this term good or evil or bad come from? You know, where's the validation or the justification for these terms? Where do they find their meaning? You know, so unless you're, well, I guess if you have some kind of religious belief maybe, or some kind of metaphysical belief, or I don't know, something like that, and you believe that there is this natural or supernatural sense of good and supernatural sense of evil that gives those words prior to any activity that can be measured by those terms, then you would have to say that those words take their meanings from the actions, or possibly from the consequences of certain actions. So let me just see if I can flesh out what I mean by a more conventional one, like killing people is bad. Killing people is bad. It kind of makes sense, but again, the arrow of causation, I think, points the other way. It'd be more accurate to say that the meaning of the word bad is derived from experiences like what happens when people are killed. When people are killed, the consequences for that are usually, at least, bad. You know, the person themselves, the person who is killed, will probably go through some kind of pain. Their relatives will suffer as a result. There'll be less kind of human resources in the world to produce whatever needs to be produced. All kinds of bad consequences follow, or negative consequences, felt consequences that people experience and that communities experience as a result of people being killed. And because that happens, we assign those consequences to a category of moral experience that we call bad. It isn't that this thing called bad exists prior to bad things happening. Things happen. There are consequences which are experienced negatively, and we group those together into this thing called bad, I think. So when we say killing people is bad, we're not measuring the act of killing people against some metaphysical absolute. We are reversing the causation arrow that usually says bad is killing people, and tautologically recognizing that by saying killing people is bad. But of course there are exceptions, you know, because sometimes killing people isn't bad. Sometimes killing people doesn't have negative consequences, it has positive consequences. And that could be positive consequences for a society, or positive consequences for a small community within a society, or positive consequences for an individual. You know, obviously in times of war, killing people is not bad, killing people is good. And it derives the label of good because it has good consequences. Killing certain people in a war, in a purely utilitarian measure, may well do good. You know, and killing Hitler in the womb or shortly after birth would probably not have been a bad thing. It would probably have been a good thing if that had been possible to do. So there are times when killing people is good, or good is killing people. I don't know, even on a personal note, not a personal note, but on an individual note, I would be surprised if it wasn't the case that there are some circumstances in which it can feel nice to kill someone. I don't know this for a fact. I'm not just talking about psychopaths, which obviously is a very particular case. You know, history is full of, usually men, but certainly of people killing one another and apparently reveling in the experience, apparently enjoying it. You know, obviously that speech from Conan the Barbarian is a bit of a joke, where he says, you know, what is good, or when someone says to him what is good, and he says something like slaying your enemy, chasing them before you, and hearing the lamentations of their women. Yeah, I mean, history is full of that kind of good, of men having fun, jousting and sticking spears through one another, or engaging in gladiatorial contests and hacking each other's limbs off, and apparently enjoying the experience, either enjoying it directly because it feels nice to win mano-a-mano competitions, or enjoying it because of the benefits that flow from that in terms of esteem within certain kinds of martial cultures, or in terms of, you know, access to resources or access to reproductive rights or whatever, you know. So yeah, I'm sure there have been many times, and there still are times, of course, when killing people feels great, and it's in a sense it's quite odd in those times to say killing people is bad, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why trying to tell I don't know, some hardline criminal, trying to tell that person that killing people is bad is falling on deaf ears, because probably from their personal experience it isn't bad at all. It feels good. It has good consequences. The utilitarian benefits to the community in which they're working is good and positive. So yeah, I'm not justifying it, of course. I'm certainly not justifying Dexter or psychopathic activities of any kind, nor am I trying to justify warfare. I'm just saying that a statement like killing people is bad isn't, in my opinion at least, arrived at by comparing an action like some totally context-free act in which a person's life is taken away forcibly, but by comparing that to some ethical absolute, some metaphysical state of goodness or badness. I think, as I say, the arrow of causation flows either way, and words like good and bad take their meaning from the consequences, both felt consequences, social, community consequences, utilitarian consequences that emerge from certain actions. So killing people is good sometimes. I guess our task as a civilization, an attempt to be civilized at least, is to maximize the circumstances in which killing people is bad, and minimize the situations in which killing people is good.